All right, another Twixwood story. And quick recap, 1983, I start my first job. I work at this little ground cover nursery called Twixwood. Have a terrible experience, except for a couple guys who really helped get me through that summer. And one of the guys was named Rocky Reinholz. So this episode of Storyteller is a tribute to an old friend, Rocky Reinholz. So Rocky was a year ahead of me in school, grade school, and Rocky was this stocky, kind of tough guy. He wasn't. I actually never saw him mean or anything. He's just kind of a tough guy, and that was my impression. Little grade school dude. And Rocky was bigger, and so I don't know. I never knew Rocky. So then I go to work at Twixwood. And Rocky had already worked there, I guess, a year or so. So this was like his second summer. And Rocky had gotten to be the lead for the Javo machine. Javo, J-A-V-O, okay? The Javo machine. And I got to show you a picture of the Javo machine. Now, I can't find one from, 1983, but here's a picture from whatever, and they're still making it. It looks a lot like it did way back in 1983. I mean, it's just a machine. You put a bunch of dirt down in this big, huge hopper, and then it's got this little conveyor that lifts the dirt up, and these pots go around this thing, and it's got this. So the dirt gets lifted up and dumped into the pots as the pots go around, and then there's this drill that comes down and dirt goes flying. And you got this nice kind of conical hole, and you put a plant in it, pot it, and move. And so move it off the machine. And so this machine needed about let's count them. So there was one person who loaded pots. You just kept loading pots. There was another person who planted. You just put the plant in. There was another person who took the pots off and put them on a trailer. And then I guess that's three. And then the fourth was kind of the runaround where, okay, you put dirt in the machine, or you get another stack of pots, or stuff like that. So I think there was four of us. And so Rocky was the Javo supervisor. And so remember me, I'm sitting in what we called Morton 1 in the at Twixwood, and I'm sticking, man. Remember, pull the bottom leaves off, stick it in the dirt. Pull the bottom leaves off, stick it in the dirt. And there's a couple kids that make fun of me, and I'm surrounded by 13-year-old girls who are talking about how many pairs of shoes they have. And Rocky comes in, and Rocky's like, "Hey, Glenn, let's go. We got some stuff. We got some Javo machine to run." Yeah. And I would sprint out of there. And we get over there, and we would turn on, we had a radio over there, and Rocky would always dial in. Remember, this was back in 1983. He'd dial in WMAQ out of, I'm pretty sure it was WMAQ out of Chicago. Now, today, it's like some weird talk radio. But back then, they just played hits and stuff. And so we were listening to 1983 music. And he'd get a couple other cool people that at least I thought were cool, and they thought I was cool, and we were all cool. And we would have the grandest time running this machine. I mean, dirt flying and pots flying. And I tell you what, we were productive. So I absolutely loved it when Rocky had to run the Javo machine, and he almost always picked me. I can remember vaguely a time or two where I didn't get picked to go run, and that was even a worse day than ever before, but that hardly ever happened. So I loved it when he sent me over. Now, what was interesting, so that I kind of became, friends with Rocky then. But what was interesting is that at the end of that summer, we go back to school, right? So I'm going into high school now. I'm a freshman in high school, and everybody quits working except for literally a couple of us. Like me, I stayed working. I'd go to school, I'd work till 3 and go to school till 3, and then I would walk from the academy over to Twixwood, which was about, I could hoof it in about 20 minutes or so. And so it was a short walk. And then I'd work for 2 hours, 3:30, from 3:30 to like 5:30. And my mom or my dad would pick me up. And so I stayed on and working 2 hours a day, for 5 days a week. Or actually then on Fridays, we got off at noon. So I'd go work for 4 hours on Friday. So I was still putting in, 10, 12 hours a week. And there's nobody there, right? So Rocky and Rocky did the same thing. Rocky stayed working too. So we'd get assigned to just, I don't know, go do this or go do that. And it was just stuff that, man, we could just sit there. There was no teenage girls. There was nobody picking on me. There's nobody making fun of me. There were no other supervisors being jerks to me. It was just me and Rocky. And we'd be potting. It'd be the two of us in this giant potting machine, and we're potting, and then it's getting cold, so the Morton building's kind of heated. So, I mean, we're working in coats, and I remember one time, it was really late in the year. It's probably like November. Rocky and I are working, and we're just bored. By then, by in November, it's like dark at 5 o'clock in Michigan. So we're in there kind of working, and we decided that we were going to have a clipper throwing contest, little garden clippers. And of course, Tom Kimmel and Twix, they had 1,000 of them, and some of them were just totally worn out. And we probably didn't care whether they were brand new or worn out. So Rocky and I, we got back a good 15 feet from the big potting machine, which had an overhead dirt conveyor and it had an under table tray conveyor, and it had these potting stations where you could sit and you could pull a lever and dirt would come down, and you'd have this pile of dirt and you'd pot and you'd push the tray underneath when you were done, and the conveyor would take it outside. And so Rocky and I decided, we kind of quit potting for a little bit one day. And so we got these clippers, and we got back 15 feet from the potting table. And there's big piles of dirt. So, these piles of dirt are 2 feet high on this table, And we started throwing these into the dirt. Ping, oh, bouncing off the table, And we both got back. I remember we had made a couple throws, and we both got back for a throw, and both of them just went into the dirt and disappeared. And the door on the other side of the potting table opened up, and Tom Kimmel walked in. Like it was like, click, the door opens. And Tom's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Oh, we're potting. We're just getting some more trays here." Yeah, mm-hmm. So I don't know, Tom, if you ever see this, I'm sorry. I didn't waste a lot of your time, but there were some minutes where I did collect some pay for throwing your clippers into your dirt on your potting table. So I'm sorry about that. I could give you back a few bucks probably. You were paying me $3.25 an hour, so I would probably owe you for 15 minutes. Do the math. I don't know. I could maybe send you $1. But anyway, me and Rocky Reinholdt. So loved Rocky. He was another great savior. Years later in college, one of my favorite classes in college, I took construction management. And part of my coursework was to take some actual construction classes like framing and drywall and plumbing and electrical, all of which have served me my entire life. One of my favorite classes was welding, and Rocky's dad, Lon Reinholtz, taught that class. I loved him as an instructor. He was just tops, and I loved welding. I still got a welder. And it's sitting right here behind me in the shop here somewhere. Still got a welder, still use it to patch up my mower and build stuff. So the Reinholdts, totally cool in my book. And just really, really look back, really appreciate those people who, I don't know why, but somehow we just connected, and it was a blessing to me. And I hope I was a blessing to people like Rocky and others as well as I went on in life. So anyway, that's my story for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.